Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and then today we're going to be discussing how incumbent President Joe Biden cannot reach his 2020 numbers. We'll be breaking down, even in his best case, how he still cannot pass his 2020 margins. Regardless if he overperforms the polls or not, he still cannot reach those numbers. But before I get started, make sure you are subscribed. Click the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video instead of missing out on any of them. And also we have memberships, so if you're looking for that, it's pinned in the comment section down below. Now back to the topic of today's video. So let's begin with this map. I'm going to explain how Biden cannot reach his 2020 numbers, even if he outperforms the polls and basically exceeds expectations in his best case. So basically, if Biden were to somehow defeat Trump in this year's election cycle, let's start by filling out these states. Iowa obviously is going to go to Donald Trump by double digits. That's actually going to be safe. No surprise there. Ohio might be a little bit closer than Iowa, but both of those states are lost causes for Democrats at this point. Florida, pretty much a lost cause for, the whole state has abandoned the Democratic Party. It's basically just treading in favor of Republicans, and it's no longer a purple state anymore. And then Texas, no matter what, that should be likely for Trump. He's going to win it by 7 percentage points. Even if Biden somehow wins the election, he's still not going to get his, 2020 numbers. And then states like Colorado could be safe for Biden. Maybe he'll crack 10%. New Mexico will be somewhat a little bit more competitive. Biden wins that by 7%. And then states like New Hampshire, Biden wins that by roughly 5 percentage points, which is going to be a lean margin. I just don't see how Trump can come close to winning a state like New Hampshire in 2024. In my opinion, Biden is more than likely going to win that state. And then states like Virginia, Biden's going to win that by roughly 6 percentage points. The governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, endorsed Donald Trump. So since Trump has his support, that could go in favor of Trump in the long run, because obviously Glenn Youngkin is very approved of. I believe he has a high approve rating. So considering that he endorsed Trump, that can go on, to help Trump in November, but it doesn't mean he's going to necessarily win the state. I think Biden still wins Virginia in this case. And then a state like Minnesota, Biden's going to win that by roughly 5 percentage points. Obviously, he's not going to get the margins he got in 2020, which is what we're talking about in this video of 8% in this state. A lot of that mainly had to do with BLM, which we're not going to be seeing this time around. So you're not going to see as much as momentum for Biden, which, he's going to lose a lot of that BLM support. The Minneapolis area has shifted towards the left. So don't get me wrong, Biden is still very much, going to win Minnesota in 2024. It may get somewhat close, but it doesn't really matter. Biden's going to win Minnesota regardless of the margins. Georgia, Donald Trump is going to win this even in Biden's best case scenario, because in my opinion the 2020 election was actually Biden's best case, and he only won it by 10,000 votes, which, don't get me wrong, is very good for a Democrat to even win a state like Georgia on the general election level. But it's still, the margin was way too small, and a lot of that had to do with he got high turnout among African American voters, which I do not expect him to get the nearly 90% that he got of them in 2020. He's actually going to lose a lot of that support. He might drop to as low as 80%, and I won't be shocked if he drops as low as 70% among blacks. And Trump is actually polling at, a fourth among them. He's actually polling at 26% currently among African American registered voters. So considering that, Trump is more than likely going to flip Georgia in 2024, and which goes to show you why Biden will not reach his 2020 numbers. And actually, Trump is more likely to reach his 2016 numbers rather than Biden is likely to reach his 2020 numbers, which is why Trump is more favorable and Biden is such an unfavorable incumbent. His approval rating is below 40%. As of today, he's at 39%, and Trump's overall approval rating on average was higher than Biden's, above 40%. So considering Biden is below 40%, goes to show you that he is a very hated president, not just on the Republican Party. Independents, undecided voters are not pleased with him, and also even some Democrats are not, favorable of Biden's handling. North Carolina, Trump is going to win that by roughly 3 percentage points. This is a state that Biden hoped to flip in 2020 that ended up not happening. So considering Biden was so favorable, like 10% way more approved of, and he still fell short in a state like North Carolina, 2024 is a whole lot unfavorable for him. I think Trump actually expands his lead in North Carolina, similar to 2016. This already here, Biden is actually doing worse with the popular vote than he did in 2020, which is why he will not get his, 2020 margins. And in my opinion, he's not going to get past 280 electoral votes, even in his best case scenario. And so basically, let's, move on to the Rust Belt. Trump is going to flip Wisconsin. This is a state that Trump won by a greater margin in 2016 than Biden did in 2020. Mind you, Trump won the state by 0.8%. Biden did by 0.6%. So considering that Trump did 0.2% better in Wisconsin than Biden did, goes to show you that this state overall is probably going to go in favor of Trump in 2024. And the margin was just so small. And with, how things are going in terms of the economy, inflation, prices at the grocery store, gas prices, and basically overall on these issues that matters to voters the most, Biden is very disapproved of. And you may make the case that, Trump is very disapproved as well, but it comes down to ultimately really, the lesser of two evils, and some may choose Trump, some may choose Biden. And considering that RFK is on the ballot, he actually has a higher approval rating and favorability rating than Donald Trump and Joe Biden. RFK leads Trump and Biden, both of them, in terms of favorability rating by roughly 5%, if you guys did not know that currently. And considering that, I think RFK could be a spoiler. And then moving on to Michigan, I think Trump's going to win the state by under a percentage point. That's how close I think it can get by a tilt margin, because roughly 240,000 Arabs live in this state, and that's the largest population out of any other U.S. state among that group alone. So considering that, what's happening with Israel and Hamas, voters are displeased, and 100,000 people voted uncommitted in the Democratic primaries. Now, you may make the case that still 19,000 people voted uncommitted in the 2020 primaries. So what's the difference? Well, you can see there's a big difference. 80,000 more people voted uncommitted in 2024 than in 2020. 80,000 more, that's a ton of a difference. And it goes to show you that voters are not happy with what's happening. And considering that, that's enough to flip the state. It's almost enough. When you add in undecided voters in favor of Trump and RFK takes away from Biden, then yes, Trump actually does end up flipping Michigan. So I think that's a really possibility. So obviously Biden is not reaching his 2020 numbers because Trump already wins, and we have not filled out 3 states yet. Trump already wins, and we still have 3 states to fill out. So Biden's not going to come close at all to his 2020 numbers. And you just take a look at Nevada. Trump is on track to flip this state. Now, mind you that Donald Trump did not improve on Hillary Clinton's margin in the 2020 election. Biden and Clinton both won the state by exact similar numbers. 2.5 percentage points for both Biden and Clinton. Now, you may say that actually goes in favor of Biden. Well, it really doesn't, because 2020 was more favorable for Biden. So considering that Biden did not improve on Hillary Clinton's margins in Nevada, it goes to show you the shift in the trends are favoring Republicans in Nevada. And if Trump's able to flip Reno County, I think he's very likely going to flip the state. And if he's able to appeal a lot of that support away from Biden in Clark County, the Vegas area, I think it's going to flip to Donald Trump in 2024. Now, in Arizona, I think this state is actually shifting in favor of Democrats. It really is. You take a look at the 2022 midterms. They elected a Democratic governor, which they haven't done so since, I believe, 2009. So the state as a whole, statewide, is shifting in favor of Democrats, and it's happening very quickly. It's not a slow shift. It's very fast. And you take a look at McCain's margin of 11% back in 2008. It dropped down to 7% for Mitt Romney 2012. And then it went from 7% to 3% to Donald Trump in 2016. And then 2020 it finally flipped. So you can see the trends. Every single election cycle, Democrats improve their margins in Arizona on the presidential level by roughly 3 to 4 percentage points. Because like I just mentioned, it went from 11 to 7 to 3% to a Biden victory in the 2020 election. So with that theory, I can go ahead and tell you right now, Biden wins the state of Arizona by 3% in the 2024 election. But in my opinion, he's not going to. So maybe we can drop that margin by under a percentage point, similar to his 2020 margin, because he's just so unfavorable. And obviously, let's say Biden does end up winning Arizona, possibly. I think he very well can. He's still not going to reach his 2020 numbers, because Wisconsin is most likely going to flip to Donald Trump. Georgia is more than likely going to flip to Donald Trump. Nevada, Biden is struggling there. And then in Michigan, we have 100,000 people voting uncommitted. So who the hell knows what's going on in there? So obviously, Biden is not favorable whatsoever. And you take a look at Pennsylvania. In my opinion, Biden, out of these 3 Rust Belt states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Biden's best shot is going to be Pennsylvania because he's not facing the greatest outlash in there. Obviously, Wisconsin and Michigan will be in favor of Donald Trump, but I think Pennsylvania is the one Rust Belt state that Biden can actually possibly win again. But his margin was only by 80,000 votes, which is roughly 1.2% to be exact, which is not the greatest margin. But if he's able to, overperforms what the polls are saying in the Philadelphia area, the Pittsburgh suburbs, and Erie County, if he's able to hold on to Erie County, I think Biden's going to win Pennsylvania in 2024. But at the end of the day, Trump still wins with 282 electoral votes, with Biden keeping Arizona, Biden keeping Pennsylvania, and he's only at 256 electoral votes. So obviously Biden is not going to reach his 2020 numbers. He's not going to get past 300 electoral votes. And let's say Biden does win re-election, he's still not going to get anywhere past 280 electoral votes. Because let's just say Biden wins Michigan and Nevada. He's at 277 electoral votes, and Donald Trump at 261. In Biden's best case scenario, in my opinion, he does not get past 280 electoral votes, which basically means that he's not going to get past his 2020 margin. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I think his ceiling is probably 280 electoral votes, and I think his floor is probably around 225 electoral votes. So let me know your opinions in the comment section down below, your thoughts on the map, what states you agree with, what states you disagree with. And don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video instead of missing out on any of them. And one last final reminder is we have memberships, so if you're looking for that, it's pinned in the comment section down below. We have custom perks and custom emojis that you can use whenever you comment on any of my videos. So that's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching.